Well, hello everyone and welcome to Talking Amateurs, your place for amateur football on the net. I'm Kim Morgan from Messenger Community News, and joining me as they do every week are Gordon Armstrong, also of Messenger Community News fame, and Peter Thatcher from RPH. How are you guys?
Kimbo, yeah, pretty well.
Boys, to borrow a often used phrase from another TV host, what a big week in footy. It's been some big boilovers during the week. Jeps Cross still winless after 3 rounds, losing to Gaza by 7 points. Tea Tree Gully, their first defeat of the season. Salisbury North showing their series with a 15-point win. Henley, the machine rolls on there. They won by 37 points on the weekend. Sacred Heart, the luckless Sacred Heart, with a tough first-up draw. Still winless. They lost by 11 points in a gallant effort against the Goody Saints. And then Broadview smashing Payneham Norwood Union to open their Division 1 amateur footy count. What do you make of it all, Peter?
Kim, it was a real round of upsets, wasn't it? And our tipping was absolutely in the toilet from last week, unfortunately, but that's how it goes. It was a round of upsets, as you say. It was a terrific performance, particularly by Salisbury North, showing that they are a fair income crack at the finals this year with a terrific win over Tea Tree Gully. That was a huge surprise to us. Great to see Broadview get off their duck and get a win for the first time this season. And just looking at the premiership table, Kim, sorry Gordo, before we go to you, Henley, Goodwood Saints and Salisbury North, the only undefeated teams now, and they're occupying the top 3 positions. And Sacred Heart down the bottom with no wins, but as you quite rightly pointed out, Kim, they have a very, very tough draw starting off, and I would expect that they would start making their way up the premiership table a little bit over the next few weeks.
Do you agree with that, Gordon Armstrong?
I think so, but my highlight was I was out at the Tea Tree Gully Salisbury North game. Salisbury North, first 20 minutes, 8 goals to 0 in an amazing display of footy. It was just, the home crowd was just stunned, sat there, just wasn't sure what was going on. I wasn't sure what was going on, and I think the Gully players weren't sure what was going on. But Salisbury North, very, very impressive. That was my match of the round.
Yeah, maybe some ducks and drakes being played by Mark Tyler. Told us they weren't really, hadn't recruited that heavily, wasn't quite sure how they'd go, but they're back to the Salisbury North of 08 at the moment, just for the moment, boys. But there's still a long way to go. Let's look at this week's matchups in round 4 of Division 1 amateur footy. Salisbury North taking on Henley. This has to be match of the round, doesn't it?
Well, look, it's match of the season so far, Kim. There's absolutely no doubt about that. And once again, an acid test for Salisbury North to see how they can come up against one of last year's grand finalists and see how they can, or whether they can continue that form. I would expect Henley still to win. They're in terrific form, occupying those top 2 positions, one of those top 2 positions on the ladder. I would expect them to get over Salisbury North.
I'll go for Salisbury North and an upset at home.
Well, you stole my line, Kimbo. I'm desperate to try and sort of make amends. Tipping's been absolute rubbish, as Peter said before, but I'm going to go for Salisbury North. I think what I saw on the weekend was enough. If they can sustain it for 4 quarters, I know Henley's a good side, but the Hawks at home, really hard to beat. I'm going to go for an upset.
Goody Saints have just been doing enough to win. Will they beat Tea Tree Gully?
Yeah, disappointing last week, Tea Tree Gully, allowing the other team to get off, Salisbury North to get off to a fly like they did. Goodwood Saints, they just seem to be scratching along, eking out wins by a couple of goals here and there. Some of their big players didn't really fire last week, but still good enough to get a win, and I think they probably still will be strong enough to get over the top of Tea Tree Gully.
Got to go for the Saints.
Yeah, Saints for me. Tom Haitley was best for the Saints last weekend, but Tea Tree Gully, be interesting to see how they respond. They were very, very ordinary in the first quarter, fought back over the last 3 quarters, but I think the Saints at home by about 2 goals.
2 winless sides do battle. We've got an undefeated game with Henley and Salisbury North, a winless battle between Payneham Norwood Union and Jeps.
Yeah, very, very disappointing last week, PNU, after I thought they were fantastic the week before. Expected them to do a little bit better, but against Broadview they didn't. I don't see how they'll get over the top of Jeps this week.
Tend to agree.
Yeah, tough one to pick. This is really very hard. I think Jeps Cross, perhaps their form last week was better. PNU will play better at home, but I think Jeps Cross may be about 2 goals.
While you're on a roll, Gordon Armstrong, your tips in the final 2 games of the round. Port Districts and Broadview, interesting clash there, and Gazer taking on Sacred Heart.
Yeah, we might have undersold Broadview after last week's big win at home on the Anzac Day, but I think Broadview can follow that up with a narrow win against Port District. Port was good against Henley, but I think Broadview showed some good signs last Sunday.
And Gazer, Sacred Heart?
That's a tough one. Gazer, we've been underestimating Gazer. I mean, they keep doing well, they're not so well, but I think Gazer at home by about 2 goals.
And those two for you.
Yeah, look, Port District to get over Broadview. Matthew Gates in tremendous form for Port District. I think that they'll win, and I think Sacred Heart will open their account against Gazer. They've been knocking on the door, and I think they'll be desperate for a win to get themselves moving into the season.
Port Districts and Sacred Heart for me. Bye, folks.